Okay. All right. Today's session is specifically surrounding final expense life insurance. There are a lot of companies out there. When we talk about the different companies, we're going to specifically concentrate on the ones that JPB and it does and takes care of. But the first question that we ask is, why write final expense? You know, JPB is not a final expense company. There are companies out there that concentrate on final expense insurance. That is all they do. They're good at it, but they don't necessarily dwell in the other aspects that we do, such as annuities, higher end life, living benefits, things of that nature. But with what we do, and as many people as we take care of, we have to have good final expense companies. We wanted to make sure for our advisors that we offered a portfolio that was one of the best in the industry. Now, everybody on the call knows that JPB does have the ability to write almost every company out there through Crump. We did that specifically so that we could have these other companies in case we run into a policy from MetLife or Pru or Principal or John Hancock, so that we can take care of those clients. But also so that we could take care of them with some of these other policies that are what we call one-offs that we may not have in our core portfolio. But we believe that we have put together a portfolio of companies that really helps you as an advisor give the best contracts to your clients. So why would somebody write a final expense life insurance policy? Well, in general, and this is not always the case, but in general, most final expense policies are specifically for the costs that are associated with their funeral or cremation or other travel, things of that nature. They usually are smaller face amounts. We're familiar with these basics as I go through them, and we're going to get more detailed as we go along, but maybe these people have health issues that keep them from getting a fully underwritten policy. And the key here is, and I explain this to my clients in a very simple manner, the more questions a company asks you about your health, the more they know about your health, the cheaper your premium is going to be. So those policies that you see on TV with no questions asked, that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Those policies do cost more, and they do have other things associated with them that the client needs to be aware of. Maybe they just don't want to do an exam for one reason or another. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's fear, whatever it is. Most final expense companies do not require any type of exam to be done. And here with JPB, we've narrowed it down to 4 core companies. We believe that these 4 core companies offer the majority of what our customers need in the final expense marketplace. But each one of these 4 companies has very specific reasons that we chose them to add them to our portfolio. And we're going to go into each one of them, but as we move through this, what you're going to find is that the differences are captured in what I put asterisks on the page. Some of the unique things that these specific companies offer and why JPB chose to associate themselves with them. Our core company, of course, in the final expense marketplace is Foresters. We also have recently added the AIG Guaranteed Issue Whole Life. Previously, we had added the SNL or Security National Life's final expense policy. When we started this venture almost 4 years ago, one of the first final expense companies that we offered was Royal Neighbors. We still offer Royal Neighbors today for a couple very specific reasons. And then, of course, it's not necessarily a no questions asked or limited health questions, but we do have American National for final expense, and you'll see why that one can be very good for your clients as well. Let's start with Foresters. Foresters Plan Right is their final expense contract. Now, with their Plan Right, this is very specific. You must do a paper application and not or, and a telephone interview on the same day. When you do the paper app, and what you do is you sit down with the client, you do the paper app. It's very simple. It has limited health questions. But when you do the paper application and you answer all those questions, then you get on the telephone with the telephone interviewer. They're going to ask you basically the same questions that are on the app, but then they are going to give you a code. And that code goes on the agent's report on the paper application. That allows foresters, when you send that application in, and trust me, you need to send that application in that day, the next day, or the day after. You need to send it in as soon as possible. That code on the application tells foresters where to go to listen to the telephone interview. Because the telephone interview is not being done by foresters, it's being done by an outside company. But the key here is, has to be done on the same day. If not, they're going to void the application. Issue ages for foresters are your standard 50 to 85. Issue amounts are $2,000 to $35,000. Now that $35,000 depends on age and plan, because they do have multiple plans inside of their final expense portfolio that you're going to see here in a second. But when you get up in age to 75, 80, or 85, that amount actually reduces. So you may not be able to offer, a $25,000 policy to an 82-year-old. The nice part is I'm at a loss for words here, but on your phone, you have a portal that I can send everybody that doesn't have it for all of these companies, where you can go in on your telephone and you can do a quote, and it will actually tell you whether or not that amount is available for that particular age. So you don't necessarily have to memorize that. Now, with foresters, there are 3 levels of issue, all done on the same application. So even if you are going for the level death benefit and you are applying for that with the paper app and the computer app, or a paper app and the telephone interview, when done, the interviewer will tell you where they fall in line. Most of the time, they will be able to tell you over the phone where your client falls in line, whether they fall onto the level, the graded, or the modified. Now, the level is in full benefit immediately. That is actually what you're going for with your client. But this is where foresters is a little unique. Foresters has a second contract that they could be approved for. If they're not approved for the level death benefit, they could actually get approved for what they refer to as the graded death benefit. And with the graded death benefit, if the client passes away in the first year, day 1, day 30, day 364, the beneficiary will receive 30% of the death benefit. If they pass away in year 2, from the 13th month to the 24th month, the beneficiary is going to receive 70% of the death benefit. And as always, with most graded or modified contracts, after the second year, the policy is in full benefit and is a whole life contract. And as you will see here with most companies, modified is, in the first 2 years, is a return of premium plus 10% interest. And then after the 24th month, after the second full year, the policy is in full benefit as a whole life contract. Now, the beauty of this is they will tell you, you just apply for one contract, and they will tell you over the phone which one your client actually is approved for. Now, foresters does count for both the Live America Convention and the Live America bonus programs. The second company that we're going to talk about here is Security National Life. With Security National Life, one of the benefits here is you could do either a paper or an electronic application. The benefit there is the person may not live near you. You may not be able to get in front of them, You have the ability to do the electronic app in addition to the paper app. But one of the main reasons that we chose Security National Life is the issue ages. Security National Life goes all the way down to age 40, but they also are the only company that we have in our final expense that goes up to age 90. Very big there. Now again, the issue amounts are $2,500 to $35,000, but that of course depends on age and plan. At age 89, you're not going to be able to qualify for a $35,000 policy. That is limited to, I believe, $10,000 at that age. But again, on your icon on your phone, it'll tell you the maximum you can get at that age. They also have 3 levels of issue, and this is another reason that we chose Security National, because in the final expense marketplace, you very rarely get a company that will offer a preferred rate class. Remember, they are asking limited questions, so they're going to get limited information on the client. They offer a preferred, a standard, and a modified rate class. Again, all in one application or all in one e-app. They do not have the telephone app. The preferred is in full benefit immediately, but as the name insists, preferred is going to have a much lower rate than standard and definitely lower than modified. So if you're looking for that best rate class, maybe you go at Security National Life because the client is in better than average health. Standard is your average final expense contract. It is in full benefit immediately. And then modified, as we've already discussed with most modified contracts, in the first 2 years, it is a return of premium plus 10%. Please, and we're going to discuss this later on, if a client gets a modified contract with any company, make sure that they understand, and in my opinion, make sure that they explain to their beneficiaries, if the beneficiary is not present, how this contract works. Security National Life is not part of the Live America Core product offering, so keep that in mind. Now, another reason for Security National Life is they are one of the companies that does have a leads program. So if you want to get into, or you want to utilize the final expense marketplace, what Security National Life will do, and I have a brochure on this that I will email to anybody that wants all the details on it, but they will give you 10% of your annual premium that you issue with them within a calendar month towards a leads program. The triggered annual premium is $1,500. And you can use up to 50% of your credit towards a lead program. It does have to be approved by Security National Life. It's got to be one of their approved vendors. So again, anybody interested in this, just let me know. We will walk you through that and get you started on this. And unused credits roll over from month to month. So let me give you an example. You issue $5,000 in 1 month with Security National Life. They are going to give you $500 towards a leads program. So let's say you want to go, you got $500 in credit. You want to go out and you want to purchase $1,000 in leads. You can use your $500 and their $500 for the $1,000. But if you want to go out and purchase $300 in leads and you've got a $500 credit, you're going to be able to use $150 of your money and $150 of their money. Because remember, you must pay for at least 50% of the lead order out of your pocket, but they will give you 10% of your total issue premium from month to month. And once you have it, it stays with you until you use it, because it does roll over. So it could be a good place for somebody to either start or dabble to get additional prospects in the insurance marketplace so that you can have additional business and additional prospects to see. Let me know when this meeting is over. Send me an email. I will send you the brochure if you are interested. We will talk about it and we will walk you through the program so that you know exactly how it works and their lead vendors, and we can go from there. Now, one of our original companies is Royal Neighbors. We don't do a lot of Royal Neighbors today because of the other companies that we've added to our portfolio, but there are a couple specific reasons that we've kept Royal Neighbors within our family of final expense companies. Number one is they do have a telephone app or an e-app or a paper app. You do not have to do a combination. You could sit with a client, do a telephone interview, do not have to fill out any application, and at the end of that telephone interview, you could have an accepted policy or a decline policy, and that policy could be issued on the spot over the telephone. Their issue ages are the standard 50 to 85. Their issue amounts are $5,000 to $25,000, and this is another reason we've kept Royal Neighbors. That $25,000 is for all ages. Almost every other company out there reduces the amount of life insurance you can get when you're 75, 80, 85 years of age. So at 82, a lot of the companies offer 10, maybe 15,000 if you're lucky on final expense insurance. Royal Neighbors will go up to $25,000 for an 85-year-old. Now, I don't know how many people at age 85 are going to want to pay for $25,000, but it is nice to be able to have that in your portfolio to offer. Their contract, SIWL Simplified Issue Whole Life, it is one contract and it is in full benefit immediately. They do have other contracts like the graded and modified, but you do apply for those separately. And in my opinion, the reason we are not going over those is because the other contracts we've already covered and the ones that we're going to cover here soon are better than the modified or graded with Royal Neighbors. But their simplified issue is in full benefit immediately. And this is the other reason we kept Royal Neighbors, and this is huge. Royal Neighbors is one of the only companies out there might be some others, that does not ask the height and weight question. So you could have someone who is 450 pounds that has limited or no other health issue. Now, I don't know how many that are 450 that have limited or no health issues, but I have issued these. I have issued a 5'4", 320-pound person on that was a diabetic on other medications with a simplified issue whole life $25,000 contract, 67-year-old with Royal Neighbors that I could not get issued anywhere else. So that height and weight part is huge for some of the clients that we've had decline for that specific question. And as I said before, they do have a graded death benefit, but it's from $5,000 to $10,000 max, and that's why we're not going to talk about it. We just don't sell it. Now we're going to talk about American National, and American National is one of our core companies, but it is not a true final expense company. We all know that. But the reason I'm going to talk about American National is we do use them for final expense. It does have standard underwriting, so understand these people are going to go through an exam of some sort probably over age 65. From 50 to 65, they may not go through an exam. But over 65, they're going to have something done, whether it's blood, urine, paramed, or a combination of those. There is going to be standard underwriting. They are going to look into their medical history, possibly even order their medical records. If we all know this e-app or paper app, the issue ages on their policy, their whole life contract is 0 to 80, so that does open up the younger ages, although I don't know how many people write final expense for a 20-year-old because it is fully underwritten. There are other contracts out there that are cheaper. We're going to concentrate on the older generation for this matter. The issue amounts are $10,000 and up. It is a whole life policy that we use, or of course you can go to their universal life, their guaranteed UL at $25,000. And of course whole life is in full benefit immediately, so is the guaranteed issue. The reason that I would use American National is because of premium and health. They do not have to be perfectly healthy. Insurance companies know that 75-year-olds are probably taking 1, 2, or 3 different medications, have had some health issues in the past. They can still get issued. They can get issued standard or even rated. but it will have the lowest premium at a standard rate of all the final expense companies, because as I started this session, the more questions the company asks about you, the cheaper the premium is going to be. So again, in being a field underwriter, if you have a client that is in decent health and you think they can get through standard underwriting, I would start with American National. And it does count towards the Live America Convention and the Live America bonus programs. Now, we just got contracted with the AIG guaranteed issue whole life policy. And the reason that we got contracted with them, you'll see here in just a second. But the guaranteed issue is either an e-app or a paper app. And if you've ever filled one of these out, it is so simple. There are absolutely zero health questions on this. It makes this contract a true guaranteed issue contract. Now, when you do the policy, you will see that mainly the only things that they're going to ask for are, of course, their name, personal information, how they're going to pay for the policy. Remember, they're not asking any questions, so we're going to see how the contract works here. Standard issue ages are 50 to 85. Issue amounts are pretty standard for the industry, $5,000 up to $25,000. And as in most guaranteed issue or modified contracts that these people see on television or being offered through the mail, in the first 2 years, this contract is a return of premium plus 10% interest. It is a glorified savings account for 2 years, but after 2 years, it is a whole life policy and full benefit for the rest of their life. This contract is not usually your go-to contract. This typically is your policy of last resort. But I will tell you this, as a policy of last resort, because it is a true guaranteed issue contract, it does have a cheaper premium than most of the graded or modified plans out there in the market. And what I challenge you to do is compare the prices between the modified plans with the other companies and this guaranteed issue with AIG before you place a contract that has to be a graded benefit or a modified contract with a client. And it does. It is part of our core portfolio within Live America and does count towards the conference and bonus programs. Now, as we go through the final thoughts, a couple pointers here. One is all of these contracts that we have available for final expense, they're all whole life policies. Again, the only major differences are, does it pay the 30% first year, 70% second year, and then full benefit third? Is it in full benefit from day one? Is it completely graded or modified for the first 2 years where they're just going to get the 10% back and then it's in full benefit after 2 years? But as you've seen in all these contracts, after the second year, every single one of these is in full benefit for the rest of their life. Always compare contracts and guidelines between companies before making a recommendation. Simply because what you don't want is you don't want to go with one company, get a decline, and then go with another company because these companies are going to see that decline. And what you don't want is for things like the Royal Neighbors contract or the preferred contract with Security National Life, if they see that out there, that is going to be held against them, and they may or may not even be offered a contract simply because they've got a previous decline. So just be careful, and it's okay to shop externally before you apply for a contract, but be careful in just going out there and freely apply. I'm going to apply for this one. If they get declined, I'm going to apply for this one. If they get declined, I'm going to apply for this one. Because the one company that does work with is the AIG guaranteed issue, simply because it's guaranteed issue, basically. If you're trying, now, I'm going to explain this, but if you are trying to get a client an in full benefit immediate policy, I personally always look up the AIG guaranteed issue premium before I apply for the other contract. All right? The reason for this is that if your client, you're doing a telephone interview, and let's use an example of, let's just say, Foresters or Royal Neighbors, either one of those two, and you're doing an application, you're doing a telephone interview, and they don't qualify for in full benefit immediately. And let's use Foresters for this example because Royal, we didn't talk about the other. They come over the phone and they say, I'm sorry, you don't get the level death benefit. You get the policy that's not in full benefit for the first 2 years. That's what they qualify for. Well, they're going to ask you for a decision over the phone right then and there. And that's the reason it's very important to go over this stuff with your client before you get on the phone with these telephone interviews. Because when you're on the phone and they ask you, would you like this modified or graded contract? Your client is already ready to make a decision because you already looked up the AIG guaranteed issue whole life policy and you see that that contract is $10 cheaper than the graded or modified policy that they're being offered from the other company over the telephone. And you can immediately say, thank you, but no thank you, hang up, and immediately write the AIG guaranteed issue, which is the same exact contract, graded for the first 2 years. What you don't want to do is accept that contract with that company, then come back, look up the guaranteed issue, find out it's $10 cheaper, and then have to go and cancel that contract because it's already issued with the company, and then write the guaranteed issue with AIG. So always look up the guaranteed issue, even if you believe, and this is an opinion of mine, this is what I do. I prepare for every appointment, and I'm sure you guys do too. That's not meant that way. But I thoroughly prepare, and I always look up the AIG guaranteed issue for any final expense appointment, just so I know going in what direction I'm going to go in if the client is offered a modified or graded contract instead of in full benefit immediately. And I'm going to leave you with this, and this is so, so important. All right. Doing this business for 27 years, yes, I sell with very limited information. I don't go through the entire policy with a client. I don't read it line by line. Nobody does. But the one thing that we all should do, and I believe we all already do this, I'm just reiterating the obvious, is when you are selling a graded death benefit or a policy that is not in full benefit for the first 2 years, please make sure that not only the insured, but the beneficiaries understand how this contract works. Because the last thing you want is to sell one of these contracts and then 6 months later the person passes away and there's the spouse or the kids waiting to get a $25,000 check because they've already went to the funeral home, they've already planned stuff, or they're getting ready to do that, and then they find out that all they're going to get back is the return of premium plus 10%. If they're prepared and they understand why they got this contract, it's a non-issue. But our reputation, of course, and we all know this, is the most important thing that we have in this industry. So please, anytime you do a graded benefit, make sure that they and the beneficiaries understand exactly how this contract works. Those are our core companies. Those are the companies that we chose. I am going to unmute. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. But the other thing I will throw out there as we're waiting, and just chime in as I'm talking, please. If anybody has a company that they might be interested in writing for one reason or another that is not associated with some of the stuff that we have on this screen, please let me know. We're all independent. JPB wants to provide you the best portfolio possible. If one company has a benefit, that's how we got Security National Life. We got Security National Life simply because we had other companies that didn't offer down to age 40. The fact that they go up to age 90 was a benefit. So if you have another company out there that has a specific reason you want to write them, let us know. We'll go out, we'll interrogate it, and possibly even get contracted with them. That's how our portfolio has grown. What we don't want to do is we don't want to go out and get contracted with 60 different carriers to be part of our core companies, because it just makes absolutely no sense if most of them offer very similar products in their portfolio. I don't see any questions. I don't hear any questions. I do want to tell you guys, thank you again, as always, and I end most every meeting with this. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being part of the JPB family. This is a very special family to me. You know, we had a previous family that a company tore up, and I think we've done a really good job of rebuilding those core values that we had previously within the JPB organization. Every single one of you is a partner, and I thank you. You guys have a great weekend. Be safe, and I'll see you guys next week.